In the middle of tremendous darkness and personal tragedy, false lights are trying to guide us, and they can bring shipwreck. We must be focused on God's pathways and His light in the storms of life. Christ is the light of navigation. Hello and welcome to the Light of Navigation and the God Stories. My name is Marguerite Lever-Woodall, and I'm an author, speaker, and your host. I write short stories about real-life supernatural encounters with God, and I love to explore what it means to follow God's pathways. In this 16th episode of the God Stories, called God and the Magic Marker, I'll share with you about a disappearing act God performed that was a hard act to follow. Come and join me in the adventures of the God Stories and experience the encounters with the goodness of God, even in the middle of our life storms. I stood in front of the mirror in the bathroom, crestfallen. After trying for several minutes to remove the red stains from the magic marker, I realized they were going to be permanent. My white, multi-layered cotton gauze dress top was ruined. Nothing was working to remove the marks. There were 3 of them. They were 1.5-inch bright red strike marks that were sticking out like a sore thumb on the front of the shirt. On a recent trip to Florida, I found this top in a local beach shop, and I was ecstatic. I'm not prone to purchase expensive shirts, and this one was really pricey. Still, I had searched for some time for a top that would match a particular pair of pants that were an unusual color and style. Ladies, you know what I'm talking about. As I set my shirt aside, I thought about where the marks had come from. It had been my turn to watch the nursery that Sunday. There were 3 children present with 2 of the mothers. For some reason, the women had stayed in the nursery instead of attending the church service. I remembered praying to myself and asking God why I was even in the nursery if the mothers were choosing to stay to watch their children anyway. One of the women was a friend struggling with alcoholism and addiction. She had overcome much in her life, and drug abuse was one of them. I'd sensed a greatness in her for the cause of Christ for some time. Now, addiction was once again trying to overtake her in the present, and a great battle was occurring internally and spiritually. As I sat in the nursery rocking chair, a gentle impression from the Lord came to me to take her in my arms and just hold her. Reaching out to her, I asked to hug her. She came, and I held her for quite some time as she wept deeply. We prayed together in the hour and a half that followed, and God stepped into her moments with His presence. He began to strengthen her and reveal His guidance. Several personal issues came forward in our conversation, and we talked or prayed about each one. God was reaching out and speaking to comfort and encourage her as we prayed. The second mother that was present was gracious enough to look after my friend's children as we spoke. She shared later that she was a former addict herself. As our time in the nursery ended, we all chuckled at one of the little girls. She'd gotten hold of a large red magic marker and had more on her face than on her drawing paper. Afterwards, I understood why I was in the nursery that morning when I didn't think I was needed. There was a divine appointment, as some call it, to hold, comfort, and pray for a friend. She later spoke of the deep peace from God's Spirit she felt as I held her. When I stood in front of my bathroom mirror that afternoon, I realized where the magic marker strikes came from. The child with the red marker in hand had been clinging to her mother and I as we prayed together. The cap of the marker was gone, and my shirt became a casualty. It could not be worn again. The marks were way too obvious. I scrubbed vigorously with anything I thought would remove them. Nothing worked. You know, it's when you throw everything but the kitchen sink at it, and it doesn't do any good. I tried the latest spot remover, spray and wash, a laundry stick, and even hairspray. To my credit, my reaction to the situation was far different than it would have been years ago. Anger and the immediate need to replace the shirt would have taken over before. When we allow Christ to bring changes in our character, it is worth everything when we are tested, and this was really testing me. So, with a little more maturity in my life journey than only Jesus can bring, I stood in front of the bathroom mirror and I prayed out loud. My prayer was somewhat offhanded but sincere. I said, "Father, would you remove these red marks from my new shirt? I can't get them out." Even if this prayer goes unanswered, Lord, though, I want you to know that I'm grateful that you used me today. You allowed me to reach out to someone in pain with your great love. If these red marks on this shirt is the price I paid for praying for someone you wanted me to pray for, it's worth it to me. This clothing isn't more important than being there for someone in need. It's about sacrifice. Sometimes we have to sacrifice. Sometimes it's our time, our resources, our things. I realized that I was seeing the ruined shirt as something that was inadvertently sacrificed. Sacrificed when God reached out through me to love a friend through a difficult time. I placed the shirt on a hanger once more with the hope that maybe a way to remove the marker would be found at a later time. As I looked at the damaged area one more time, I noticed something different. Something was rapidly changing physically on the shirt. The red marks faded in front of my eyes in real time. Dumbfounded, I watched the marks completely disappear within a matter of seconds. Spray and wash is no match for magic marker, but magic marker disappears when tackled by the living God. Thank you for taking time to listen to my story. If this podcast would be an encouragement for someone you know who needs to believe for the impossible, even if it's small, pass it on. Your comments are valued and subscribing is also appreciated. How far will God go to touch us with His love? Is any need or detail too small that He won't meet? In the next episode of the God Stories, called God and the Favorite Photo, we're going to find out.